Success isn't just about money. It's about winning in every area of life. Welcome to the Larry Holsey Podcast, where we dive into leadership, business, personal growth, investing, and family so you can prosper the way God intended. I'm Larry Holsey, and each episode will bring you the wisdom, strategies, and motivation to help you level up in every part of your life. So if you're ready to grow, lead, and succeed, let's get started. All right. Listen, good to see everybody. This is Larry Holsey Podcast, of course. And I'm excited today because I've got a special guest, a friend of mine, and she's actually running for Texas Congressional House District 86.
Texas House of Representatives, House District 86, yes.
Okay, got it. I knew I was going to mess that up.
Oh, you're good.
So you're going to be representing this area in the state house.
Correct.
In the state of Texas, which is going to be so cool. Texas, I mean, how much cooler could it be to represent, Texas like that's
the
awesome.
Lone Star State.
It's the only place to be.
Yes, and District 86 is 7 counties. So, it spans that left side of Texas from Dallam all the way down over to here in Randall County. It kind of makes a L or a boot, I like to say. So great part of the Panhandle. Amazing people.
Yes.
And excited for this race. And today, actually, I don't know when this will be released, but today is the first day of early voting.
Okay.
So everybody be sure and go vote if you hadn't got out there yet. Be careful. We've got some high winds in the Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
So a little concerning.
Hopefully they don't cut our power in the middle of this podcast.
Yeah.
So this is Jamie Haynes. I didn't get to introduce you by name. So Jamie is a friend of ours, and we worked together back during the pandemic, and it was that's where I got to know you, and I'm excited for what you're doing and all the things the bad things you're fighting against and the good things you're fighting for. So love to get everybody to hear more about your background and
Sure.
what you're about.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a little about me. So I grew up in Central Texas, McCullough County, Brady, Texas, which is the geographic heart of Texas. That's our claim to fame.
Nice.
My dad's a rancher there, retired now. Same for my mom. She's a retired pharmacist. Graduated from Brady High School and moved on up to Lubbock, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Became a Red Raider, Reckham.
Nice.
Yes, and graduated there with a degree in management information systems in the business department. Met my husband, JT Haynes. He is from McLean, Texas, and he got his first job in Amarillo. So we moved up to the Panhandle in December 97 and started our lives here. I've been here ever since. We have 2 boys, Quinn and Court. And Quinn is actually now a senior at Texas Tech, and he has a girlfriend and should graduate in August.
Yeah.
Planning on going to TCU Ranch Management School, or that's the hope.
Okay.
And then our youngest boy, Court, my baby, is a sophomore at Tarleton State University in Stephenville. He is on the rodeo team there, and he also has a girlfriend and just loving life. They really do. I can't believe they're launched. Not completely. They're still on the payroll, but but, showing signs of becoming pretty amazing young adults and men of God. So it makes Mama heart happy.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so do you want to share a little bit about why you got in the race? And
Absolutely. So as you know, we were all just living life and, boom happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just turned everybody's world upside down. I started being concerned about what was happening to our kids with the masks and everything in school. That was craziness. Coupled with the fact that a mom had posted on a local social media Facebook group, I believe it was, about what our kids were reading in school. So I ordered all the books, had them in my hands and read them. I couldn't believe what I saw, and I'm fast forwarding through a lot. But essentially, I launched a website, did book reports on these books, put them up online to show folks, because I thought as soon as we see this will go away.
And what were these books about?
All different things, but the one that my son was reading was basically about this guy that kidnapped girls, would keep them in a basement and make them clothes that he brought, and then he would take them on dates while they were being captive in the basement to watch TV until he fell in love with one, and then he would take them under the stairs into this private room and rape them. And the girl would describe the rape afterwards and how she felt, and it was just
explicit.
It was just too much. He was a freshman. And again, we didn't know that he was reading this book. It never came home with him. It's not like you saw it on his bed or in his backpack or something. And we learned only because of COVID and because there was children at home that these books were required. They could only choose one of these 5 books. And again, I told my son, well, how are you reading this? And his response was, Mom, we had to. And the teacher said this was the least worst book.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And so, anyway, I started doing book reports for numerous different books. I
Hmm.
essentially walked out of our business. So, we own a real estate brokerage here in town. And I essentially walked out of the front door, went home, and didn't return to our business. I turned all my energy towards what else was going on in the
Hmm.
school and uncovered a lot of things. We had a harmful sexuality education program. We weren't following some Texas state laws in our education code. We had a SEL, a social emotional learning program that was harmful. And then, we had a mental health program that was created by Lady Gaga, the singer.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
you didn't have to be a super private eye to think, okay, let's look into that one. So I went up and reviewed the
It's
curriculum.
very Amarillo. It's very fit. It's very Texas. Very much fits our culture.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I went up and reviewed this curriculum,
Hmm.
and I'd already been tipped off about what was in there when I'd asked around to different moms who talked to their children, and I knew what was in there. And so essentially, after 45 minutes of seeing nothing nefarious, I turned to the educator and I said, "Listen, I know something's here. You just need to go ahead and show me." So
Hmm.
click. And then there it was, Larry. There's the video of a little girl who's telling the students that she's a little boy and that you too can change your sex. All you have to do is come forward, get help from your counselor, and everything's going to be fine in your world. It'll be great. And so that was the message. I'm summarizing, but that was the message. And so, at school board meetings, I spoke out against the books and I was
Hmm.
speaking out against this curriculum. And again, this was right after COVID. I didn't, the word transgender was not a common household word at that time. I
Yeah.
mean, it just wasn't. And so this was very difficult and challenging for me. I had to I did a lot of research, ordered a lot of books,
Hmm.
researching, and but I knew that this was not truth, and I knew it was harmful for
Hmm.
children. And I thought that most of the community would agree with me. And if they only knew what was in this program, they also wouldn't want their children being involved. And so I was speaking out against this at a school board meeting.
Hmm.
And one of the educators who actually taught this curriculum, she filed an ethics complaint with me with the local realtor board. Okay, so we'll stop right there. So prior to COVID, the National Association of Realtors had updated our ethics code that we as realtors have to adhere to. And what they did is they added the terms sexual orientation and gender identity into the protected classes.
Right.
So that happened. And then after COVID, we come back fall 2020. We're all in COVID land. And again, they update the interpretation of that 10.5 ethics rule, saying that all realtors, you're not just a realtor when you're writing a contract or showing a property, you're a realtor 24/7. So you can never turn it off. So you're a realtor at the restaurant, the grocery store, or at the school board meeting.
Mm.
So when I
Or
spoke,
in your own home.
or in your own
I
home,
mean, 24 hours a day. Yeah.
yeah, all the time. So when I spoke out, in this 10.5 update was later called the hate speech rule. So when I spoke out against that, no matter what my religious beliefs were, that was violating their ethics code. So that violation, or when they turned it into the local board, went up to the Texas Association of Realtors.
Mm.
I had a hearing then on all Zoom, right? Zoom hearing. I was found guilty.
Mm.
I appealed, and again, this was like months later process. I had a second hearing and found guilty again. So my punishment at that time was, and I was frustrated with all this. I didn't vote for any of these rules. My punishment was I had to take a class and pay a fine. So it was like $500, I believe. And I had to take a diversity and real estate class.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
What the
again,
heck?
another term, DEI was not a common household term
Yeah.
then. I really thought it was going to be about different types of real estate, and so
Youth rentals, multifamily.
so that was not the case. I log in, and again, this was all online, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was flabbergasted. I started arguing with the teacher. I told her this is straight up Marxism, communism,
Hmm.
socialism. I started recording it because I was like, does anyone know?
Does anyone believe that
Yeah.
this is what they're actually teaching? Yeah.
Yes. And we actually had to go through and put your supposedly favorite LGBT personality in different segments of occupations. And so just all sorts of indoctrination into this
Hmm.
ideology. And so I got done with this, and my husband and I were just flabbergasted. We knew it was wrong. We knew we had to fight it. And,
Hmm.
I was in the situation where, thankfully, because of the amazing people of the Texas Panhandle that have blessed us with their business and trusted us with their real estate transactions, and our business has been successful, that I was able to step away. But I told my husband, I said, there's singles moms out there in the state and in this nation with children And this same thing could happen to them, and they're going to be silenced or punished, and they can't speak up, and they have no one else. So we have to stand up. And so at that time, we went to see an attorney here locally.
Yep.
He has a reputation for being a pit bull, a successful pit bull, a very good attorney in winning cases. And he told us, we laid all of this out, and he told us, I think I can win this case. It's going to have to go up to the Texas Supreme Court. He goes, but I fought cases there before. I've won them. He goes, it's going to cost you about 150 to 200 grand.
Okay.
And which is no joke. And again, we still had, I think at that time, court, I can't remember what year it was, but one rolling into to college and another one right behind him, right? Lots to think about there. And we just went home and we prayed about it. And that attorney, he didn't feel like the right choice. And so we ended up not doing that. Several other things occurred, and I had gone to meet with Representative Smithy, and lots of things transpired. But eventually the choice was clear. I felt like God was calling me to step up and run for office. Instead of fighting it that way, I'm like, I'm going to go down and try to make a difference and try to make change in Austin, coupled with all the other things that were going on in the schools. And so that was part of my why. And so I'll come back to the story in a second, because it circles back around. Interestingly enough, it's crazy how things happen, and God opens doors for you. But throughout that whole process of researching what was going on in Canyon ISD, man, I joined any kind of organization, coalition that would have me. I felt like God put me with some great mentors that took me under their wing and were training me and educating me and really guiding me on a path to learn how to advocate for policy in Texas. And I got real involved with the Republican Party, started out locally, became a precinct chair here at the Randall County GOP, became a state delegate, went down to our state convention, which happens every other year in Texas, and really learned how that process works, which is amazing. It's representative government for the Republican Party of Texas. And when you go down to the state convention, what you as a delegate do is advocate for issues that we believe are important for Republicans here in our state. It's different than the national Republican Party. And so we build out what we call our party platform. And these are things that we believe in as Texas Republicans, and we vote on them. And every one of these conventions, we say, these are the most important issues. And those are called your LPs, or your legislative priorities. And there's usually like 8 or 10 or 12. It varies. But these LPs are basically they're saying, hey, legislators, in this next session, these are the things we want you to focus on as Republicans running on the Republican ticket. And so for each one of those LPs, there's a subcommittee. And these subcommittees are usually made up of your SRECs, which is your State Republican Executive Committee men and women. And in Texas, we have a man and woman SREC for every Senate district. And I tell everybody this, I love saying this part of it so great, because our government was built around the Bible here in Texas, because we have 31 senators in Texas, because we have 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs.
Nice.
And we have 150 House reps, which is what I'm running for. 50 House reps in the state of Texas, because there's 150 chapters in the book of Psalms.
Okay.
So again,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, interesting, right?
That's awesome.
So back to the SRECs, there's 2 per Senate district. And normally these subcommittees are made up of those folks, but sometimes they're made up of other volunteers that are asked to be on these committees. And 3 sessions ago, I served on 1. 2 sessions ago, I served on 2. And then this last session, the 89th legislative session in Texas, I served on 3 legislative priority subcommittees for the Republican Party of Texas.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was too many. I'm just telling you.
Oh, yeah.
I was just consumed with Zoom calls and reading bills. But I really branched outside of kind of my education lane that I'd been in. I just wanted some more exposure. And so one of the committees I was on was Texas Land is Not for Sale, which we helped get that bill across the finish line that made it illegal for our foreign enemies to buy and own land here in Texas. So
good.
Really proud of that work.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great. So all of this work that I've done on these committees, you start reading the bills as soon as bills are filed. So as you know, Larry, like session starts every other year in Texas. It starts in January, give or take that second week, and runs to the end of May. Sometimes spills over into June, but give or take January through May. Bills can start being filed in November, and then they stop being filed, give or take middle of March.
Okay.
And so as soon as bills are starting to be filed, the committee starts meeting, usually meeting before, but starts meeting. And we look at everything that would fall under that umbrella of that priority. and deciding if it even meets the priority. And then we evaluate the legislation and we say, okay, is this a great bill or is this a bad bill? If it's a bad bill, we try to kill it. If it's a good bill, and no bill is perfect, we work on making it better, making suggestions, looking at the things that are problematic or maybe things that they didn't think about, unintended consequences. And so then we start traveling down to Austin or making calls, however we can get in front of that legislator or their staffers to talk about the bills. And so you really become, I wouldn't say subject matter experts in your lane because you're reviewing all the legislation.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a great experience. But the bigger thing too, I think when you're down there, you're building relationships with all these legislators.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
It's huge. And you're getting to know them and their staff, which their staff are a huge part of what they do as well.
Yeah.
That has transpired into today, me having 18 Texas House legislators that have endorsed me.
Okay.
And I think that's really important to let people know that these are folks that are putting their name behind my name, standing with me because they know if I get elected and represent House District 86, I'm going to stand up for the conservative agenda of the party. I'm going to fight with them for what conservatives believe and what our president is fighting for in our nation. And they know I'm going to be with them because they've seen my work, right? And they know my personality and what I believe in and honestly, my worldview. So I think that's huge. When you're down there and you're working with these folks, you just see so much, you learn so much, you have a whole different perspective and your eyes become open to what is happening. And so I'll tell you one story. When I was walking through the halls of Austin with a friend this last legislative session, and it's hard to go down there because we live 7.5 hours from Austin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is such a trek. You can fly, but the flights are never at the right time. They're in the middle of the day. And you blow a whole day or two. And sometimes it's just easier to drive. Easy is a loose word to say, but 7.5 hours. But I'm lazy by nature. Not really, but I mean, I want to sit on my couch sometimes and just relax. I don't necessarily want to have to pack up and drive away from my family. But I just felt like God had put on my heart, just keep showing up, Jamie. Just keep showing up and I'm going to open doors for you. And on one of the trips, this last session down there with a friend, and he said, hey, meet this guy. He's down here working on some things. And I was like, yeah, what are you working on? And he was like, well, I'm actually involved with the Austin Association of Realtors. And I am actually here with some other friends. Then we are working with a senator who has filed bills to help us fight this realtor hate speech bill or ethics code. Sorry. I've got realtors from Utah, Montana, and Virginia that are going to come in for the hearing. And they have actually had ethics complaints filed against them. They're having their freedom of speech censored, violating their religious liberties. And we are actually looking for somebody in Texas that this has happened to. I was just like, wow. Okay, wow. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm your girl. I shared my whole story and he was like, this is amazing. We couldn't find anyone in Texas. So fast forward to a month later, we are in the Senate chamber. We're having a hearing. Senator Middleton had the bill that essentially said, and I'm summarizing, but essentially said associations and trade organizations can no longer censor your freedom, can no longer stop your freedom of speech based on a rule, an ethics code. And so this wouldn't just be for realtors. It would be for anybody that had a license, plumbers, attorneys, whatever it may be. The senators totally got it. I mean, wow, they were blown away. Passed the Senate. We had a House hearing. In the House, we had a wonderful hearing, but the chair never would call the bill for a vote. So anyways, it ended up dying. But so session ended and then boom, June, the next month, right after session of 2025, the National Association of Realtors had their annual conference down in Florida. Other three realtor buddies went down there. And I'll tell you, Larry, their violations were more damaging than mine. I suppose you could say they had higher fees. Some of them had their license pulled. One of them was a pastor and his church was actually delivering food to needy families within his community.
Yeah.
And somebody wanted to put an LGBT event flyer in each of the deliveries. And he said no.
Yeah.
And they filed a complaint against him. And he had like a $5,000 fine, and, major issues. The other guy had posted a Bible verse on his social media.
Wow.
Fine. And then the other guy had posted a meme mocking Levine, the guy who was a military under Biden. Yeah. I forgot his first name. Yeah. And so again, all different situations. But fast forward to after our hearings, one of those guys, the Utah gentleman, realtor, has actually already filed a lawsuit within his state. The Virginia gentleman was in the process. We had done a lot of media. We each did a podcast. It had gotten out there. Articles were written. And so because the association felt so much pressure in they're at their convention in June, they
Mhm.
actually rolled back the 24/7 rule. So this is huge for
Yes,
realtors everywhere across the nation. We
absolutely.
actually didn't even pass a law, but made them change their
That's awesome.
policy. So there's still work to be done. That
Yeah,
bill needs to be passed, and we definitely need to, still remove the gender identity and sexual orientation, I believe.
yeah.
But we made progress. And so,
So let me point
yeah,
something out. So, I mean, it's important to push back against the taking away of our, the gravity is going to be pulling against our rights, right? So, constitutional rights, our God given rights, the gravity is going to be pulling it down and trying to take those away from us. And if we don't stand up and push back, then they'll just be gone. And so I appreciate that you're doing that. We need more people pushing back and looking at the details, because these people that are on the other side of the issues, they're organized and they're crafty and they have good lawyers and they're constantly pushing for their agenda. And it's important that we stand up for our rights, our free speech, Second Amendment, all the Bill of Rights, all the constitutional rights guaranteed to us, or they'll be gone.
yeah. And I think that's what people ask me, what is your role as a legislator? Well, our very first role is to defend your liberties.
Yeah.
That is the very first role. And I think this is so important. People ask me, why are you running? Well, it's hard to explain this whole,
Right.
that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
But essentially, it started out with things I saw in the school, went down to Austin and saw everything else that's going on. And you can talk about my platform, which reflects some of that. But
Mhm.
essentially, it boils down to, I am worried about the state of our nation, and I want to leave it in a better place for our children and not in a worse. And I am very concerned that our liberties are being chipped away, and people are busy, they're working,
Yeah,
they're trying to just get homework done and dinner on the table and roll to the next
exactly.
one. So I'm able to go fight and stand up, and I want to be a voice for the panhandle.
And the challenge is that most of the people who have conservative values are working, are building businesses, are focused on their kids. And the people that have a left wing mindset or a left wing worldview have less kids, have less jobs, have less businesses, and they have more time to focus on, or they have government jobs. It's a problem.
Yes.
So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, you're welcome. Well, but we answered, why are you running?
Yes.
That's the answer to that. And it's a long answer, but I think it's important to let people know we've got to have people stand up and speak truth.
Yeah.
I don't hate anyone. We are all God's children.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want people indoctrinating children, especially our children, but any child with harmful ideologies that are going to have them make permanent decisions based on a 12-year-old brain or a 14-year-old brain that's not fully developed. You
Mhm.
can't you can't get a tattoo till you're 18. In Texas anyway. And so you shouldn't be able to make life-changing decisions with your sexuality or your
Yes. And so, yeah, that was a lot of information to cover, but to completely agree with you. We've got to have people just stand up and speak truth. And I tell everybody, I come from my biblical worldview.
Mhm.
I believe in the Constitution, in defending our liberties. And then one of the things that I'm running on, I like to tell everybody my core values, but I believe in fiscal responsibility, limited government. Our rights come from God, not the government, free
Mhm.
market capitalism. I'm very much for cutting taxes and slashing regulations, and I'm pro freedom. Some other things I want to hit on that I'm kind of being attacked, which is interesting. I'm being heavily attacked. I don't think anybody in the district doesn't know that I'm being heavily
Yeah.
attacked. They've got some pretty gnarly mailers.
Yeah. I
Um,
got one of those yesterday.
you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to be honest, I don't check my mail. So someone checks my mail for me and brings just the important stuff and tosses everything else.
Yeah.
But yesterday I saw this mailer on in our entryway, and we had planned this podcast like 3 or 4 days ago, and I was like, "Oh, look, what are they saying about Jamie?" And I was like, I thought maybe it was from you because your picture was on there.
Yeah.
And then it was like talking about you being a liberal and all these things. And I was like, this is not the Jamie I know. How could you call Jamie a liberal? Like, who is it? I don't even know who it was from because it didn't have like a political, it was like some pack or
Hmm.
something. But I'm like, how on earth could they call Jamie Haynes a liberal?
Yeah.
Like, bro, you got to be
Well,
off your rocker.
and I think anybody that knows me, if anything, I've been accused of being too far right, and now they're
Exactly.
going to the complete opposite, a liberal, right? It's crazy. But here's the deal: they don't have anything on me, so the only thing they can do is just flip the lid, right? And they're counting on that low information voter,
Yeah.
honestly. to just pick that up, and then it plants that seed of doubt.
Yeah.
It plants that seed of doubt. And so, then people are like, is this true? So that's what I've been combating. And it's real unfortunate because it's a group out of DC. They're pro school choice. I'd love to talk a second about school choice because they're attacking me based on a long history of things that have happened with my advocacy down at the Capitol. So 3 sessions ago, I believe I was on parental rights. And then 2 sessions ago, I was on the parental rights again. And so that particular subcommittee covered school choice. So this was before, school choice had obviously come to Texas. I can't remember when this particular thing happened, but if the bill was out yet or not. But we were all Republicans in a Zoom talking about school choice. And someone actually took a snippet from that recording and pulled it down and published it on social media, and it blew up. And the snippet was of me. And this was actually the first time that someone had, violated the trust of these groups, because we are all Republicans in this group that are fighting for the conservative agenda in Texas. And, it was real unfortunate because after that happened, then now everything has changed because people are very leery of speaking their minds out and having free flow conversations because other people are, devious and would use that against them, at some point in time. Like, case in point right here. But the conversation was around school choice. And everybody was still trying to kind of grasp, okay, what does school choice look like for Texas? It's in different states. There's different variations of it. What does a voucher really mean? And, we're talking about if you gave somebody, and this was just a free flow conversation, and the Zoom had gone on for a really long time, and it was very heated. There was basically 2 camps. There was the camp that was all in school choice no matter what, like they wanted it bad. And then there was the camp that believed we should adhere to the priority of the party. And the priority that had been passed at that convention was no strings attached school choice. That was the exact verbiage of the priority. And Larry, this is so important because as a volunteer for these committees, I am pledging my loyalty to serve the party and not to serve myself. So just because I don't exactly agree with something, I'm not going to go against my biblical worldview, obviously, but I'm pledging to have integrity that I uphold what the people voted for when they went down to convention.
Right.
Not just to do whatever Jamie Haynes wants to do.
Right.
So when the priority says no strings attached, we're supposed to try to make sure that the bill doesn't have strings attached. That is the goal. And so we're having conversations about that. And it's really heated. And we're talking about if we give people freedom, what does that look like? If we give people like a gift card to go purchase curriculum, classical novels, whatever that may be for their child to have, educational choice. But if we just give them money or a card or something where there's no oversight, what could happen, right? And if you have true freedom, then people can make great choices and people can make really poor or awful choices. And so in the clip, I say people can do something awful. And actually before that, I'd thrown out that, okay, someone could go buy, an arcade game or a big screen TV. If there's no oversight, they can blow the money on something. And then I start thinking, okay, they could do something really awful. You're going to have people that abuse everything in our world. And I say something awful. And literally my mind is going through what are the worst things that people could spend money on, right? Alcohol, drugs, prostitution. And then I literally click over to what can you purchase still in America? And again, abortion was still legal in Texas at that time. I said abortion. And so they clipped that right there and put it out. And so now folks are letting people hear that clip and they're saying Jamie Haynes is advocating for abortions. That is not what I'm advocating for. My exact terms are something awful like pause, and then I said the term. And again, I wasn't at a forum in a public setting or, saying this, but I was in what I thought was a secure room full of all conservatives. And we were just having a conversation of like, hey, we need to make sure that whatever we do in our state is not going to allow for abuses like this. And if we have too much freedom, that people can make poor choices. So anyways, and so that's been used against me. I am 100%.
So to be clear, you're not advocating for abortion.
No, I'm 100% pro-life. I have always been pro-life, and I would never advocate for anyone to take the life of a child. I believe that life begins at conception, and I am very involved with contributing to our 2 pregnancy centers here in the Panhandle. We have 2, one in Bovina, created with purpose, which has changed their name to Link, and then also to Hope Choice, which is Candy Gibbs here,
Oh.
which everybody is very familiar with the one here, maybe not so much as the one in Bovina.
Yeah.
But both amazing. They not only help these women and guide them, but they give them Jesus. Both of them give them Jesus. And so
Amazing.
my husband and I have no qualms about supporting both of those organizations and their boards, great leadership all the way around. And so I never did take a drink. Let me take a drink.
While you do that, I mean, listen, I mean, if anyone's ever had an abortion, there's, I don't have any judgment for somebody who's done that, because I can't imagine the pain that it would bring on the mom who took those actions. And so organizations like that are very powerful to support, that are, just to show them that there's other options. There's
Yes.
other ways to go about it. And I mean, it's really sad what it does to a woman's heart who does go through an abortion. And I look at my kids and I'm like, man, every child is a gift from God. It doesn't
Yes.
matter what the situation, how you got to that situation. If you don't want to be with the guy, you do want to be with the guy. It doesn't matter. The child is a gift and can bring so much, blessing to a mom's life and a dad's life and everybody around them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one thing about those organizations that I mentioned is that, they meet those mothers wherever they are. And if they have had an abortion, there's no judgment. There's only love.
Yeah.
And there's only, like, they have classes to help them heal and to not feel that guilt or burden, and to let them know, it's okay. And with the love of Christ,
Yeah.
they can be forgiven and move forward. I just can't say enough good things about both of those organizations. No, I'm 100% pro-life. And again, this is the state. And again, back to these attack mailers, back to this example that I just laid out for everybody. I am all about truth. I am all about transparency, and I'm all about honesty. And I will always tell you what is true. And when we have these kind of conversations, it's because, we're trying to make sure that the legislation that is put forth in the state of Texas is the very best it can be. And so we're talking through every scenario that was out there.
Yeah.
And understanding the consequences of the actions of writing these laws.
Yes.
Because one thing we know that happens time and time again with bills in Texas is unintended consequences. There are
Totally.
things that people don't think about, and then they always go back the next session and they have to work them over and make them a little bit better and tweak on some changes. And so us having real conversations as Republicans, as conservatives, it's just going to happen. And so it's unfortunate that people will use that to try to push their agenda, whatever it may be. But I will always just tell you the truth. I'm always just going to be real and raw and let everybody know where I stand. So I appreciate you letting me have this platform
Yeah,
to
for
just
sure.
put that out there and address it, like just hit it head on. I tell people at my speaking engagements, but as you know, I can't. There's a lot of people in Randall County. I can't get everybody
Oh, yeah.
to an event. So just putting that out there, it makes me feel good and let everybody know where I stand. But
Awesome. Is there anything else that's been misrepresented about you?
well, I've got a list here.
Oh,
But I would like to say, people are saying that I flop on school choice. So let me just hit that one in the head. So we discussed that the first priority of the Republican Party of Texas during that particular session was no strings attached school choice. Well, guess what? The next state convention, they dropped the no strings and it was just school choice.
just school choice. Okay.
And so, when they say, well, Jamie, you changed. And I'm like, well, so did the Republican Party of Texas. Like our priority changed. And again, I don't blindly just go with whatever they say. I'm going to use discernment. I'm going to judge things based on what the bill says. And so I always tell people, you have to read the bill. You have to read the bill. And these bills, a bill can be 2 sentences and a bill can be 250 pages. And these school choice bills were very, very lengthy. There was a lot in them. And what our job is as legislators is to make them the best they can be and go through every one of the paragraphs and sentences and understand the implications that it has. And so people today, when I fill out surveys, they're wanting me to say, and again, you only have 2 choices sometimes on some of these surveys. Are you for this policy issue, or are you against this policy issue? So if you say, and this is for any policy, but if you say you are 100% for, particularly like on this issue, if there is a bill on that issue the next session and you don't vote for it, what are they going to say?
You flip flop.
That you're a liar. Here's what I want people to know. I am pro educational freedom. I didn't say this before, but we moved court. He finished Canyon ISD his freshman year. We went down to Happy ISD, which is a very small, 6-man football school. So had two different experiences there. And then for his last 2 years, I homeschooled him. I think this makes me a better legislator because I've had multiple different experiences with, using our educational freedoms that we do have in the
Mhm.
state. And so I am totally for freedom.
Well, it's nuanced. I mean, I was listening to actually Governor Abbott he was on Glenn Beck yesterday
Mm.
and talking about, school choice, and there's like 100,000 people that signed up in the first month or whatever. Glenn asked the question, well, are there strings attached? And, he was like, well, yeah, some things, there's some whatever. You got to kind of go with what can be passed too. And sometimes it's like maybe you can't get 100% of what you want. But if you can get 70%, that's just how these things work.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Sometimes you have to take the wins you can take and move forward and
Yeah.
go back next session and hopefully strengthen.
Good.
But I think it's important, some of the hate mailers that are coming out against me are
Mhm.
directly saying, you're against President Trump's, educational plan. Well, that's false. We are a Trump family, put 3 flagpoles in our front, not one, but 3.
3.
So
I like it.
so I can put all of my flags up after Trump ran. And, I tell people
And
this
one
whole
for the third time.
and one for the third time.
Uh-huh.
And, the only thing about the flagpoles I didn't really realize is that in the Panhandle, the wind just kills them. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it shreds them. And I
Mhm.
can't find, if anybody knows of a good company that sells flags that will not be torn up by the Panhandle wind, please get with me because I spent so much money on flags and they just get tattered.
Oh.
Whole nother problem. But no, like when he was a senior in high school, he actually 2 rolls of duct tape later had put a flagpole in the back of his pickup so he could ride around the
Nice.
campus with his Trump flag. I had my MAGA hat. So anyways, I'm just all in for Trump. He's not a perfect man.
No.
But dadgummit, I am so thankful he is in office. So
Yes.
thankful and support him and all that he's doing, trying to secure. I mean, we have the most secure borders our nation has ever had. And
Yes.
that is because of him.
Absolutely.
So anyways, but back on school choice, so that is the whole layout of that. I will always use my brain and discernment and read the bills. Let's see. We already touched on, okay. And then someone said the homeschool coalition doesn't know where you stand on all of this. Like they do. Actually, I've been endorsed by the Texas Homeschool Coalition. They
Nice.
are an amazing group of people. Might have been my favorite endorsement interview. You don't always get interviews when you have these endorsements, and sometimes you don't even have a survey. Sometimes it's a phone call. But that particular one, that was just a really lovely group of folks. And so really
Nice.
proud to have that endorsement. Jamie is not a realtor because her real estate license is expired. Are you a realtor?
No.
Okay, I thought maybe
No,
you might.
we invest in real estate, but
Okay.
not a realtor. No.
Okay. Well,
I don't want to deal with these commies that want to control me, and so we just invest in real estate. But
I love it. But like any other license, it can expire.
yeah.
And you have to take continuing education hours to
Mhm.
keep it up. And so when I stepped away from our business, I didn't see the need to continue taking the education classes.
Yeah.
So I let it expire. Simple as that. And so do I have a real estate license? Yes. It's just an inactive status. This is a very common thing for agents. In fact, lots of agents come to us asking to join our brokerage, saying, I already have my license. It's just
Mhm.
expired. We're like, great.
Just like your driver's license.
Just like you're right. Yeah, go. You'll take a class or 2 and get your hours up, and then you're good to go. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. It's not like you have to go through the whole gamut again from
Right.
It's just a couple of things. So that's that issue. Let's see. Okay, so someone has brought up that I was the current office holder for HD 86, or in that column on my campaign finance report, current office holder for HD 86, we had put my name. And that was just a clerical error. So just for the record, my husband is the treasurer of our campaign. But we have another lady that's helping us, and she does all the, number crunching and the uploading and filling out the forms. We're very thankful for her. And then JT, as the treasurer, of course, approves it.
Mhm.
We all missed that, and she did too. And so actually she got online this week, and you can do a change request, and she submitted one. And so we just basically pulled that information out of that field. I in no way was saying I'm the incumbent. I think that's pretty logical. No. So just to be clear, I did run for this position, House District 86, last cycle against Representative John Smithy. I was unsuccessful. He obviously won. And then he has announced his retirement this last fall. And so we have an open seat for the first time in over 4 decades.
Wow.
And so there's only 2 of us in this race, myself and one other lady, my opponent. And so, no, I've never been the incumbent. That was a clerical error. So cleared that up.
Yeah.
And then someone saying that, Smithy endorsed me last cycle, which That's not logical. I ran against him last cycle. He didn't. Yeah.
No.
Haynes is claiming that she was born and raised in the Panhandle. So on my bio page on the website, it clearly says, might or might not, I think it says we moved up here in 97 after college. When we started this campaign, you have a campaign team that you hire to help you do the millions of tasks that are involved with running a campaign. I'm so grateful for them. And, they're great folks, but I haven't known them my whole life, right?
Right.
They're new to me. I'm new to them.
Yep.
And they type all these emails out that go out. They do lots of things, but that's
Sure.
one of their tasks. And then I look at them, I approve them,
Yeah.
and then they send. And one of the first ones we did, maybe the first email, first or second, they put Jamie Haynes, born and raised in the Texas Panhandle. Well, I missed it, and the email went out. So I am not born and raised in the Texas Panhandle. I am Texas born and raised. But I missed that word. And again, it's my oversight. I'm not blaming the team. But on my about page, it does say where I was raised. So I'm not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. It's just you review all this stuff. And usually I'm looking at my phone somewhere trying to read it. It's not always.
Who cares? I mean,
well,
it's not like you're really trying to. I mean,
I know.
There's a tremendous amount of information that you have to digest. And
I was looking at more of the policy issues. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I apologize, Texas Panhandle. I missed that error. I will try to do better moving forward. And it'll probably happen again, possibly. I mean, there will be other errors. I will not be perfect.
You do have blonde hair.
Yeah. It's dyed. It's not.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hey, if you're not dying, you're not trying. That's my
there
motto.
you go. There
you
you
got to
go.
try a little bit, right?
I had to get in a blonde joke,
well,
it's just.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Medical freedom. You're going to love this one.
Yeah.
This is kind of, the first time I met you, I knew of you, but I think I saw you down. You came to a Canyon ISD school board meeting and were standing up against the sexuality education curriculum.
Yes.
Yes. And I was so grateful to see you there and have another voice, conservative voice standing up. And I so appreciate you protecting children and doing that.
Thank you.
And you were very thorough in it was just professionally communicated. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then we saw each other through the pandemic when Dr. McCullough, actually in this building, when Dr. McCullough was brought in and standing up for medical freedom. And so just to be clear, I'm 100% pro medical freedom, 100% pro exemptions. I would not tell anyone in their right mind to get the COVID now that we know everything that we know today, which is crazy. I'm an anti-masker. I did wear a mask some during COVID, but I tried not to wear it.
I regret every time I wore the mask. Every time I got on an airplane and I put that mask on, I'm like, why did I do that?
I know.
Why did I do that? I mean, no, it's not ever happening again.
Same. But anyways, it was a crazy time.
It was.
So people are questioning if that is truthful because I've been endorsed by the Texas Medical Association. And the Texas Medical Association is not always that conservative on some of these issues. They are saying that I'm basically lying about what I believe in. And so that's not true. I am with the Medical Association on the policy issue called scope of practice, which my opponent is on the other side of the issue. And so I'm summarizing, but essentially she is advocating for nurse practitioners to be out from underneath the oversight of physicians and and expand their scope in which they can practice. And so I don't agree with that policy position. I think that if they want the same liberties and freedoms that physicians have, that they should go to law school. I mean, they should go to medical school. And so, most physicians agree with that. And so it's just a policy stance. But, when I accepted their endorsement, the Texas Medical Association, I did not have to fill out a survey. I did not submit to any of their other policy stances. I did not sign anything. Someone asked me if I, had a tattoo or carved it on my arm. That is not true. And so we agree on this one issue. And just because I've accepted their endorsement does not mean I'm aligned with them on everything. I know some great physicians in town. Dr. Doug Albrock. I mean, he is a godly, biblical man. He's pro medical freedom. I know that. Common sense guy. He says that there's lots of physicians that are members of the Texas Medical Association. It's a very common thing.
Yep.
It doesn't mean they all agree with everything that the Medical Association does.
Right.
Just like, TASB, the Texas Association of School Board. That is a group that majority of ISDs in Texas are members of, but they have some radical leftist stances on some things. That doesn't mean all the schools agree with them. I mean,
well, it's just like you being a realtor. If you're a realtor and then the realtor board or whoever with the Texas Association of Realtors makes these crazy, rules, it doesn't mean that you support those rules. It's just, that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, we're seeing this everywhere, right? Lots of
Hmm.
large organizations have been kind of taken over by some of these groups.
Yeah.
And it's not a true representation of, but lots of times that's the only group that is out there that represents that particular sector or
Mhm.
occupation. And so, anyways, it's just the reality of the world we live in. So,
Yeah.
I'm very much would never been my stance on those medical freedom
Mhm.
positions, and just want to lay that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what I tell everybody, Larry. Like, I am an open book if you want to know something. But this is my palm card that I hand out to everyone, and I actually put my personal cell phone right there on the bottom. And I tell people, if you have any questions, call me. I will talk to you anytime. Call or text if you don't want to, have a phone conversation. Some people feel more comfortable texting. But 806-404-1650. And this is something that I'm passionate about. House of Representatives position is supposed to be closer to the people. It's supposed to represent the people.
Mm.
Your legislator is supposed to be accessible to the people. And
Yeah.
so I want you guys to have my phone number and be able to communicate with me.
Mhm.
And I've actually, I have some software that I've invested in so that if I get a million emails or text or phone calls, missed calls from people, it
Mhm.
actually queues it up in my system so I can't lose you, and actually groups them all together, which is a beautiful thing because the organization of all that is a lot. So my
Yeah.
phone's been ringing a lot. But yeah, I just want people to know I am an open book. If you have a question about some of these attack ads, one of the attack ads that's consistently they're repeating the same points over and over is that myself and our business advocated to increase your taxes $200 million.
Yeah. That's what I saw. That
Yeah,
was on the mailer I got
that was on
yesterday.
the mailer. So,
Yeah.
Larry, I advocated, as did the majority of Randall County, for the Canyon ISD bond in, I believe it was 2018. This was the bond that actually built West Plains High School,
Mm.
it did a lot, but that was the biggest thing. And us as realtors, or honestly, just any citizen in the community who was kind of paying attention, you could see all the new developments that were growing. You could see the growth that was coming.
Mhm.
And we were going to have kids in the parking lot at Randall High and at Canyon High if we didn't build a new school.
Mhm.
And you can tell today West Plains
It's rocking.
it's rocking. It's full of kids. Get over there at 8 o'clock in the morning and feel the traffic.
Oh.
So yes, I was for us building that school. No, and again, that's what people do that attack you in the media today. They
Mhm.
take a sliver of something and they just twist it, right?
Mhm.
So I tell everybody, do your research. Call me anytime if you have questions. And the other thing on that flyer is I'm pro liberal school unions.
Mhm.
That's crazy. If anything, I've been fighting DEI and fighting liberal crazy unions ever since I've got into the education realm and this
Mhm.
DEI business. And so I think they just threw that in for good measure, I suppose. I don't
Yeah.
know, but yeah, they're coming down hard on me. It's kind of crazy, and it's really gross, but
Politics is dirty.
it's so dirty.
The
And this is why good
blood sport.
people don't want to run for office. I mean, who would want to put their spouse and their family through this? I'm really, really glad that both of my boys are in college right now through this
Mhm.
campaign cycle and aren't seeing this firsthand. I'm sure they're seeing some things online, but
Mhm.
at least they're not here to experience it. I'm grateful for
For sure.
that.
Well, thank you for doing it. It's a huge commitment, not only the campaigning part, but then the serving part itself, and it's a thankless job. But thank you.
Yes, yes, and I'll just end with, man, I love the Texas Panhandle. I love the people here, and I would love to go down and represent everyone and be a servant leader to the people. If you have questions, reach out to me. I always tell people that I can tell you all about my conservative awards that I've won. You can go to my About page and read. I can tell you about my resume and all the things that I've done and all the endorsements and all the people that are standing behind me. But really, at the end of the day, the most important thing that I believe that you should be asking someone running for this position, a candidate running for this position, because we're essentially interviewing for the job and
Mhm.
you're hiring us or not. The thing that you should be asking is when you go down to Austin and a piece of legislature comes across your desk, how are you going to evaluate that? And I am telling everyone that I'm going to look at that and say, is this the proper role of government? Is this the proper role of government? And so the proper role of government is safety and security and infrastructure. Infrastructures like our roads, our bridges, our schools, because that's in our Texas
Mhm.
Constitution. And so these are so important that we stay within that circle, because when we get outside of that, that is when we start growing government,
Mhm.
which is what we are doing. We are creating a mound of bureaucracy and we are spending way too much money down in Austin. And we've got to stop that. And if you don't have someone telling you that I am going to make sure that we're not growing government that's focused on limited government, that's a fiscally responsible legislator, that when they get down there and you're under pressure and everybody's saying, man, vote for my bill, just vote for the vote. Yes,
Right.
they're going to vote for it. And we're going to be in the same boat that we're in now. And we've got to stop spending. When I travel around the Texas Panhandle and I visit with people that are involved with our hospitals, with education, with law enforcement, they are all telling me, Jamie, we don't have the budgets that we need to perform the functions that we're required to do. The legislator keeps pushing down mandates on us, and we don't have funding that's coming in behind those mandates, and it's unsustainable. We can't keep going in this direction. Man, that's the most important thing, I think, is having a liberty principled legislator or candidate for you to evaluate. So again, give me a call if you have questions, shoot me an email, and go vote. I know the winds are bad and crazy today, but we got to get people to the
We do. When does early voting end, and when is election day?
Yeah, so election day is going to be March 3rd. Early voting is starting today, February 17th. And so polling locations everywhere. You'll probably see the signs, but Randall County Annex, you can go to jamiefortexans.com/vote. I've got all the ballot propositions up there, all the voting locations. And if you're still unsure, and want to hear a little bit more from me, want to see our debate with the other opponents and some of my interviews with the Michael J. Show and some podcasts, you can go to jamiefortexans.com/media. And I've posted a whole bunch of links for the last events that I've done. People can go listen there as well. And I actually do, you can click on events. I've got another coffee with the candidate coming up. And so I'd love for you to show up at that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today. And thank you for what you're doing. I love it. And we're all for Jamie. So let's go.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap for today. If you got value from this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. And if this message resonated with you, share it with a friend and connect with me on social media. I'm at Larry Holsey, and I'd love to hear how you're applying these lessons in your own journey. So remember, success is more than just one area of life. You want to keep growing, keep leading, and keep prospering the way God intended. We'll see you next time.